Thank you for offering me a chance to visit here, and I actually start my interest in collaboration governance since arriving PARCC. So actually, it's just a new area I'm not so familiar with. It's an interesting case we can talk together today, and we will see what is the final conclusion we can get in the future. Okay, I will start my lecture here. Today, my topic is has collaboration governance been hijacked? Examine a case of government lead participation in China. A whole presentation can be divided into three parts. The first part is the introduction, and I will talk you the practice status quo of collaboration governance in China these days, and the motivation why I conduct this research, and what the research will focus on. The main body is the case started analysis here. We're talking about parties, roles, participating process, and problem in the cause, and the reasons why the problem arises. Then the final part, the last but not least, is the conclusion and discussion. The first part is, let's start from collaboration governance in China. I actually do our research review, includes the practitioners and interview some practitioners and also do some literature reviews in this arena. And I think commonly the practice in China these days can be described as this characteristic. The first one is many of the practice actually are led by government, and it's a multi-party participation in the process. But this participation is non-routine. That means actually that depends on the leader's characteristic and the actual case, what kind of thing they want to cooperate with you. It's not institutionalized the situation in China. And from the very beginning, the practice actually are parties consensus-oriented and deliberative-oriented. That means government doesn't want to make decisions for every party. They try to be cooperative with each parties. But the government usually makes the final decisions. Because the collaboration governments in China is still a new kind of phenomenon, it's not so popular, so we try to popularize it. That's why we see a lot of high inspections on these new governance tools and its effects in Chinese media and also research literatures. And to the theory development, actually it's just started. And a lot of literatures actually introduce foreign research. What are you doing? What kind of conclusion have you got from your research? And what pattern can be used in China context? So normative research is far more than empirical research, and almost no indigenous theories under Chinese context has been developed. The same situation with practice is too positive attitude to the collaborative governance. Why I want to conduct this research? Why I pick up this case? That's because I'm very interested in some scholars and practitioners' data about Chinese collaborative governance. We think this kind of governance has been manipulated by government who participate in this process by purpose. So I want to check and find the real answer why it is the situation and what is the real problem. And my focus was on the role of parties and how they join the process, the problems and the course and the future of this new government tour in the future. And to the case, let's come to the second part of our presentation, the main body about the case analysis. It's a single case. It's conducted by gathering public information and also conduct some face-to-face interviews for some practitioners during this course. And this case is based on project. The name of the project is Classification and Recycling of Domestic Garbage in Qi Province Eco-City Project. There actually are 4 entities participating in this collaboration. The first one is the local government, it's the Eco-City Management Committee, and I will refer to GOV, just to short it. And another is 2 market entities. The first one is Eco-City Environmental Protection Corporation. It's a state-owned enterprise. And another one is a free market entity. We call it free because it's separate from government system and some property management agency who get a fee from residents and offering them maintenance services for them. Another one is non-profit organization. The name is Friend of Green. They conduct an environmental protection education and training. Okay, let's see the participants. The whole project started from the end of 2007, and actually it has been triggered by a series of public policies. We can see here I listed the most important policies related to the cooperation. On the right part here, I just show you the hierarchy structures of government because it's a cooperative project conducted by two countries, China and another country I have anonymized as S. Here, actually from the November of 2007, the two central governments has signed a framework agreement on this level, so it's a central level, and followed 4 months later. There's another overall plan for this program, which signed from central government of China. So it's still come from central level. And 2 months later, in May of 2008, T province, they conduct our master plan, which approved by central government of China. So actually, this will come from central government of China according to Chinese legitimacy system. It has been approved by the higher level, so it can be seen as a higher level's document. That is the very beginning. They come from the hierarchy, the highest level of the hierarchy structure of government, and that triggers the followed collaboration process. Since September of 2008, and the regulations issued by T province government. I want to go back here and show the central government, T provincial government, and Eco City Management Committee. This is what is the governments actually involved in this project. Then, go through to this slide now. The initial local administration regulations that contents actually have two important parts. The first one is a PPP contract. We call it concession in Chinese. I have discussed several times with Brandon. He has no idea what it is in American context. It's just kind of authorizing. The government authorizing one of the specific entity to investment and authorize them get benefit from the project. And no others can join this program. That is concession. And another is the two contracts about government's purchase service. One is authorized M1, ME1. That means the Eco Protection Company, the company, to develop intelligent recycling machine. And also, they will develop a recycling app we can use on cell phone. So the starting of the collaboration actually between government and ME1, sorry. Then followed some administrative official document published by the local level of the government. We say that is the Eco City Management Committee, the grassroots government. They conduct some documents and to push the project. They actually ensure the plan here is the implementation plan. It is not legally binding, but actually they do give a plan how to cooperate in the future. So MA2, the free market entity, we call it the property management agencies, they actually join to this collaboration. The content is actually two cross. The first one is the recycling garbage that was not stopped from the south in the evidence area, and another is the placing the classified garbage to the according recycling facilities. I use red arrows here just to make sure what is the new relations created during the new collaboration process. So the third step is NPO's participation. It starts from 2013, and it's according and the NGO's participation starts from the local regulations since the end of 2012. And also, when T province actually ensures environmental education regulations, that actually means the government should work with some specific NPO to push and also to develop the collaboration between the social society with the government in environmental protection process. That's why NPO has joined the process. But the thing I want you to know is that this NPO is not selected by institutionalized process. It's according to the personal relationship, because they have very close, they're friends with the leader of that sector, so they join the process for so-called win-win. Okay, the content actually is a handbook. They have to write a handbook for the government. The handbook includes environmental protection contents. They can teach citizens how to recycle and how to do the sorting in the domestic garbage. Another thing is help them to establish some habits to protect the environment, also to take recycling as a routine. So it can be divided into two parts, a handbook and environmental behavior habit establishment. That is the new relationship in this process. And later, since 2017, several administrative documents from T province has been issued that actually to try to push the cooperation go forward. Why? Because during the past few years, the cooperation actually is just is not going so fast as the government anticipates. So the terms here, we notice that they actually has, compared to the former ones, they add two articles that which one offers the service offered by property agency will be accessed by the Bureau. It is a free market organization, and it can be supervised by regulation according to the PARCC laws. But today, they ensure some new document try to push additional pressure on this ME2. Does that make sense? Okay. According to 7, and they will conduct different kinds of assessment for property agency, and also giving rewards to those high levels in the assessment. So it can be seen or encouragement to participation of the two joining the process. And also two new documents followed from the beginning of this year. So it's very newly and the latest cases here. They also give some new administrative documents that is not legally binding, but they increase some provisions here. The public company that are underperforming will be ordered to withdraw from the local property management market. So actually, this is the real process we will show in the PARCC more than 10 years. We start from 2008 here, and this goes through here, and ME2 joins the process. Then NPO joins the participation, and the final result is look like this. I use the solid arrows here, and also use the dotted arrow to show the relationship is strong or weak. If they do not have some very regulations or local regulation to restrain it, I think the cooperation weak, we define it as weak because they actually do not interact with each other during our face-to-face interview, and I will show you a table later. This is the one. I thought the problem in this course of collaboration. This is parties collaboration, and I divide the collaboration into 6 aspects. One entity to another entity. Here, this is government with M12, the state-owned enterprise. This is government with ME2, the free market organization, and government with NPO. Company with property agency, then the company with NPO, property agency with NPO here. The base, if you can say, they have very legally restriction, just like local administration regulations. Their cooperation is strong relation, but instead, administration official document, which was not legal bindings and not works well. This is the the goal here. This is the previous goal they want to achieve according to this cooperation. The goal is here, and there is the result. The yellow part shows the result has not achieved their goal, and the green one shows they actually achieved the goal, and the pink one shows they have some new problem right here, which they never noticed before, and they're thinking of that before. So from the result and the goal, you can say the cooperation is not so.
So could you explain the not legally binding?
Yeah.
So what is, but it can be not legally binding but still have an impact. So in the Chinese context, what is that really?
In Chinese context, in the past 20 years, if there is an administration official document, that usually say you should come back to the document with no excuse. But what I want to dig from this case is the document itself has changed. It has no coercive power as it used to be, and the parties during this process, they actually do not come back to the document. That's, I will show you later. That's why they changed here. The document here, the document here, and the document here. What is the difference between among the three documents? The latest one, the government actually add some punishment measures in this document. The first one, no punishment, no rewarding, no punishment with rewarding, punishment with rewarding. That's why the regulations here has changed. This is the parties and their role. I know it's too tiny, maybe you cannot see it clear. I just give you a little bit of idea from this from this chart. The dotted arrows here shows the direct expense. This is committee, in case we call it governor. So you can say he allocates the missions and he also pay that. Who takes the leading role in this process is very obviously the government here. And also, he also takes the most job of finance. I call it hybrid failure here. That means no party actually achieves the original intention of participation. As we showed in the previous table here, only the handbook has been finished. And there arise some new problem, fee dispute. Okay. Who hijacked the collaboration? I think collaboration has been coercive to another way. So who do that? Who are responsible for that? I think the first one is market failure. The structural defect between supply and demand in the market of garbage recycling. We actually do 10 categories of sorted garbage in this project, but only 3 of them can remarkable and recyclable. That means another 7 categories will be mixed together and buried in landfill. So it's a kind of waste of time, energy, and also the money, right? And then the shortage of the regulations. We don't have low-value recyclable subside. That means the company they don't want to recycle some tiny low-value recyclables. It's not beneficial and it's with a lot of time, right? Another thing is they actually new tokens here is the fee dispute. What is the fee dispute? I think you still remember the ME1 and ME2, they cooperate to do the reclassification, right? But ME2, the property agency, they actually get the fee from the residents directly, not from the government. So they do the maintenance service for them. But when they try to take the job of reclassification, that means they will do extra jobs for that besides the fee, right? So they really want to get more money from residents or from government. And another thing is government won't give them fee because they think you have got your cleaning fee from the residents. That is what your job, that is what your responsibility. Another thing that the company actually wants to do, I want to show you here. He do the reclassification here, but actually he is just a broker. So actually all the sorted garbage come to the company and they do the final and treatment. It's a big job. It's a big deal, right? He want to share fee from property agency, and they just say no. And according to a government decision, they cannot tackle this kind of dispute because this should be tackled by agreement. We have no law or regulations on that. That's why property agency do not interested in reclassification. And without reclassification, the company actually cannot achieve the goal. And another, the shackle for MPO, is based on the institutional personal relationship instead of institution. So that is very weak. When the leader changed, the corporations just broke. The action treasury leg did not match the organizational goals or specific government's target, because the government's targets actually quantitative indicators is very strict. We do not want to say, you just tell me, oh, they have established their idea of how to sort. We want to see the result. This is the participation track, the friend of green. As we said, the participations are actually based on personal relationship. So when the government agency function adjusted, the sector in charge changed, and the collaboration has stopped here. And another thing is top-to-down bureaucracy system. We can say all the collaboration are actually triggered by the top-level government, right? This is down-to-down. The political encouragement, the continuous advocacy from high level of government, and it's a direct pressure. They have launched 3 quantitative indicators for performance education. Here, this is indicator. You can say it's very strict because these indicators are come out from the expert who work in this arena, come from country S, who has a lot of experience in garbage recycling, but it's not in China situation because it's just the very beginning in our country, so we have no idea what to do. This indicator is I accepted from the implemented line in 2000. But actually, these indicators has got approved by the central government of China since the very beginning of the collaboration since 2008. So it has existed for more than 10 years. They are strict, and also you can say the achievement of these indicators is highly dependent on X factors instead of government itself. That means proportion of urban domestic garbage resource utilization. Who takes that job? Company, right? Homeless treatment rate of hazardous waste and domestic garbage. Who takes that job? Company, right? Daily waste production per capita. Who do that? Residents. So how can you use this indicator to manage the government's job? They had to do extra pressure, push on the other parties who can do that work for them, right? To satisfy their own assessment standards. Another thing is, I think, very important factors who actually affect collaboration processing in this case. That is, we call it old, difficult, and broad institutional system a problem. Why government can give financial aid to company? They have contract. If we have contract, we have to combine to contract, right? Instead of give you extra money, extra fee. Sorry, what's that? Okay. Why do that? Because the government finance is still not transparent in China. So they can do that because we don't know. The second thing is the dependence of state-owned enterprise on the government. That's because actually cannot explain from the traditional culture. I don't like that kind of explanation because I think in modern society, all the relations are actually created by the police. So personal appointment of state-owned enterprise are actually by government. And also the finance come from government. That's why they are by to government, right? They're our leaders. Another thing is the top-down management is still valid. I think you still remember the chart here. It's not so easy if I want. I call it still valid because to some extent, if you put punish here, relate related to the authority, it can work. But you want to negotiate with the parties, they may not obey to you. They will not say yes. So I would say to some extent. This is the last part of this research. I think it can go through three important points deduct from this case. The first one is the hijacked collaboration is likely the result of the current government management system and a series of policy conditions. So I don't think it's right to say the collaboration is manipulated from the very first beginning. Right? The second point is this opportunity for collaborative governance, because I can say there are still weak relationships which cannot be regulations by government's authority. So that means in the future, we may still have room or space to negotiate, right? The third point is the implementation of collaborative governance in China cannot be separated from institutional reform. Because in these days in my country, some scholars they're trying to popularize this kind of review. They think our social reform can be start from very minor aspect. For example, we take some new governance rules choice from Western country, or we do some minor repairment to the old system. We think that can make the minor change can eventually cause the majority change. I don't agree with that, so I just conduct from this case. I think all the reforms actually they are integrated thing. That means you should connect to other part of the social life. It cannot be just be separated from itself. Okay, thank you for the presentation and present here. This presentation is conducted by me, right? Welcome remarks and comments. And at the end of the speech, I actually want to thank to PhD student Brandon and Bo Zheng and other teachers here, because we have talked a lot about how to do some translations from Chinese to American context, because we have a lot of different regulations, legitimate systems, so sometimes the translator is not trustable. That consumes them time, and also they contribute a lot of good suggestions. So I really appreciate that, and I will say thank you. Thank you.